Hello, my name is Etta JoMaria. I am an actor, a producer, a social advocate, and a multi-potentialite. So what inspires me to tell a particular story, especially those that highlight social issues, is first, my general outlook in life or towards life is when purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. I am very much pushed by purpose in everything that I do. And so with regards to telling stories of social impact, for example, I am also bold. So I love a bold approach. I appreciate approaches where people are audacious, like people go get it as a go-getter. That's one of my nicknames. I am inspired by these type of bold stories because I believe that the world is transcending, from points where people avidly read to a short span where we're more in tune with what we see. And so with this, I realized that the best way to really push the narrative of social impact and to tell a social impact story is by coming up with this type of educative stories for people's visual pleasure. So it really made sense that since film is a form of expression, is a form of art, is a form of story, as a form of storytelling, entertains, it also educates. So why not educate people, with stories of social impact and social issues? So when I'm working on a film about a sensitive issue, how I make sure that I tell it in an honest and respectful way is first of all, doing adequate research, because you have to be aware, extremely aware of what you're talking about, and you have to be extremely knowledgeable of what the story you want to tell in order to tell it truthfully, So the respectful thing to do is to first of all do your homework, do adequate research. Research is never enough. The only thing what's the worst that could happen? You would just decide that, okay, this information is too much and you will let it go, right? But it's bad if the information is little and then you end up misrepresenting people's lives or people's stories, because these are stories that are touching, and these are stories of experiences that either people have become survivors of, and they need to be told well. With Strength of a Woman, the short film that I did a few years ago about sexual harassment, I've been sexually harassed. A lot of women have been sexually harassed in Lagos, and it was really easy for me to tell it, mirroring my experience and the experiences of my friends and people that I had spoken to. Again, research, right? So even though I had felt or gone through the situation, I still made sure that I told it from a place of, not just from my own POV, but from POVs of other people, by speaking to them, by asking them, and getting in touch to ensure, or really understand, the extent to which this affected them. And I think it's the same thing if you're telling a story of rape, if you're telling a story of girls who are not educated, any story that you're telling, any social impact story, if you're telling a story of domestic violence, of FGM, any story whatsoever, research should be at the core of what you're doing. So, one of the main challenges of being able to make films of social impact, it's balancing emotional truth with cultural sensitivity. You know that you're not just telling a fictitious story, you are really bringing to poignant light stories and things that people have lived by, sometimes for generations. Imagine if you're telling a story of FGM. These are practices, or this is a practice that has gone on for so many generations. Someone's mother had done it to them. You get what I mean? So you want to ensure that you are very grounded as a filmmaker, obviously, and not just representing these people's lives, because these are triggering stories, so you're not representing it in a really worse part. And that is a challenge, but it's a good challenge, because obviously I talked about research and how important it is. And what keeps me going, it still boils down to purpose. Again, when purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. So I am grounded by my purpose and the fact that I want to use my platform to authentically bring, Pan-African stories to poignant light, and use my art, use my craft as an actor, as a producer, as a storyteller, as an international storyteller, to be able to make sure people listen when they need to listen, people see the truth about the things that are important, about social impact stories, about social issues, and really, really, really continuously represent Africa in the best light possible. My art is my form of expression, like I've said before, and for me, it's just about, making sure that doing something and doing it extremely well.